I said, nobody sent you. That's what I did for you, my friend.
Party no vex for me. Say I never call you since, but I hope that.
Good morning and welcome once again to the business excuse me, to the Law and Business Show on Aloore Radio. Excuse me. The weather is cold, so we're struggling with the cold today. Anyway, like I said, welcome to the Law and Business Show on Aloore Radio. As usual, you know that the Law and Business Show brings to you all you need to know about business and law and where they intersect. Now, if you are an entrepreneur, a business owner in the city of Ibadan, and even beyond, this is a show for you. We are broadcasting live on www.aloreradio.com. You can also join us on our website, on our YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/Aloore Radio. I beg your pardon. And you can also join us on www.facebook.com/Aloore Radio. Now, our last conversation, after our last conversation, I had a few people get in touch with me and ask me what can they do or how can they access grants in Nigeria. So for those of you who haven't listened to our last conversation, we talked about how to fund your startup. If you're operating a startup or a business in Nigeria, how do you fund that startup? Now, amongst the other ways that we discussed, one of the things that we highlighted was obtaining grants for your startups. How do you obtain grants for your startups? So a lot of people reached out to me after that conversation, after that episode, and they said that, Oga, I want to access a grant for my startup, for my business, and I don't know how to go about it. In fact, I don't even know anything about grants in Nigeria. And so we're going to have a very brief conversation about grants accessible by business owners in Nigeria and what you need to do to access those grants. So we're going to jump right into it because our time is short, our time is limited today. And I think that the ideal place, the befitting place for us to start this conversation would be by taking a look at what is arguably the biggest and the oldest granting organization or grant-giving organization in Nigeria, which of course is the Bank of Industry, otherwise known as the BOI. So the BOI, of course, is a development finance institution. And what that basically means is that it is a governmental institution that is used to give microfinancing to organizations, to companies that otherwise would not be able to access financing, through the normal commercial bank lending. So the aim of development finance institutions basically is to help to promote the economy. Is to help to promote the economy through stimulating economic activities within a community. So that's basically what a DFI, a development financial institution, is. Now, usually the BOI, like I said, the BOI is the largest and the oldest DFI in Nigeria. And it usually would provide a lot of different types of startups in different sectors with financing for their businesses. So now the question is, if you are a startup or a business owner and you want to get financing from the BOI, what do you do? How do you go about it? How do you even qualify to access funding or grants from the Bank of Industry? Of course, the number one criteria for any business owner who wants to access grants from the Bank of Industry is that you must be a Nigerian. Not only must you be resident in Nigeria, but you must be a Nigerian by nationality. Okay. Now, the second criteria for accessing grants from the Bank of Industry is that you must have a visible business, a visible and a feasible business idea located within what the BOI described as their 40 linked clusters. Now, what are their 40 linked clusters? It's very simple, actually. You see, in Nigeria, you have three main economic clusters, which of course would be agriculture, petroleum, and then services. Okay, so those are the three main clusters. Now, within those clusters, you have other subclusters, right? So you could, for instance, within agriculture, it could be poultry farming, it could be fisheries, it could be crop production. Also, within the oil sector, you have other sectors, the upstream and the downstream subsectors, and other breakdowns within that sector, and also services. So if you're not providing a good or a product, you could be providing a service. So if you are a makeup artist, for instance, right? If you are a tailor, if you are a stylist, and so on and so forth, you are providing a service which falls within the 40 linked clusters that are operated in Nigeria. And so if you're doing any of those things, then you do qualify to obtain a grant from the Bank of Industry. Okay? Now, another requirement for loans, or for grants rather, from the Bank of Industry is that you must be between the ages of 18 to 35 years old. Okay? The bracket of 18 to 35 years old before you can qualify to obtain grants from the Bank of Industry. So if you're 17 or less, you do not qualify, and if you are 36 years and above, you also do not qualify. And then lastly, you must have the right academic qualifications. Okay? And what are the right academic qualifications? Simply an OND, a minimum of an OND, the ordinary national diploma, and above. Okay, so if you have an OND, if you have a HND, if you have a BSc, Masters, you do qualify to access Bank of Industry grants. If all you have, however, is what do they call it now? The school SAT, then you obviously do not qualify to access Bank of Industry grants. Okay, so quick run through is that 1, you must be a Nigerian. Okay. 2, you must have a visible and a feasible business idea within the 40 linked clusters that are operated in all areas of Nigeria. 3, you must be within the age bracket of 18 to 35 years old. And 4, you must have a minimum academic qualification of an OND. Okay, so if you have these things, you now visit. Now, so here's the part that a lot of people, you see, when people talk, when I have conversations with entrepreneurs about accessing grants and funding, one of the things that quickly comes to the fore in our conversations is that a lot of entrepreneurs actually are not prepared to do what they need to do to access these grants. When they hear that an organization gives grants, they think that they can just go and apply, and then immediately they just fill an application and then send it, and then they will get their grants. So I must state that these qualifications, these 4 requirements that I've given you, are what would pre-qualify you. There is still a process. And how do you access that process? You go online. You follow the link on the Bank of Industry link. You go in there, you fill the form, and there are a few things that you will have to do that the Bank of Industry will put you through in order for you to qualify and obtain those grants. Now, another grants organization is known as the African Young Entrepreneurs Empowerment Nigeria, or AYIN for short. This is another very popular organization, which gives grants to young entrepreneurs in Nigeria. Okay, and the aim of AYIN really is to empower youthful Nigerians in Nigeria by furnishing them with access to funding, mentorship, training, and other resources to help them start and grow their businesses. So AYIN also has a mentorship program where and within this mentorship program they are tutored on various essential skills for starting and for expanding their businesses. Okay, now the AYIN program is a yearly program. It takes place once a year. So unlike the Bank of Industry where you can apply at any time of the year, the AYIN program takes place once a year. It is a yearly program, and it attracts so many applicants from all across Nigeria. Okay, and so it is a very, very competitive program. Now, what are the requirements for the AYIN program, or for the AYIN, to obtain the AYIN grant? The number one criteria is that you must be 18 years and above. So unlike with the Bank of Industry grants, the AYIN grants do not have an upward ceiling. Okay, all it states is that you must be above 18 years in order to access their grants or to apply for their grants. The second criteria is that you must have a good and a viable business idea, or you must be currently running a business that has the potential for profitability. That is an idea that can, or a business that can easily be scaled. Okay, so that is another thing that you must have in place before you apply for an AYIN grant. Right, now the third thing that the third requirement for an AYIN grant is that you must be a Nigerian, and your business must be located in any of the 36 states. I think we still have 36 states, right? So yes, within the 36 states of the country. So you must be a Nigerian by nationality, and your business must operate or be operating within any of the 36 states in Nigeria. Okay, we're quickly going to look at yet another grant giving organization, a very popular one, which is the Tony Elumelu Foundation Entrepreneurship Program, or the TEF Entrepreneurship Program. Okay, now unlike the first two that I've mentioned, the TEF Entrepreneurship Program is not limited to just Nigerians. The objective of the TEF Entrepreneurship Program is to empower women and men across the continent of Africa. Okay, by catalyzing economic growth, right? By increasing economic growth, driving poverty eradication through entrepreneurship. Okay, so those are the objectives of the TEF Entrepreneurship Program. And just like the AYIN Entrepreneurship Program, the TEF Entrepreneurship Program is a yearly program, and it is also a highly competitive program. I have over the years had the privilege of being a part of the TEF Entrepreneurship Program as a mentor, though at some point I had to resign that position due to conflicting demands on my time. Right, but it's a great program. It's a great program, and one of the beauties of the TEF Entrepreneurship Program is that apart from giving the applicants or the participants funding, they also train you, just like in the AYIN program. You get a lot of training on how to run your business, how to structure your business, how to scale your business, and you get all the tools that will help you as a business person, as an entrepreneur, to enable you to succeed in this economy. Now, the TEF program of course, was launched in 2015, and it has empowered over 15,000 entrepreneurs to date. And each participant, each grantee gets a grant of a non-refundable grant of $5,000. Okay, so how do you qualify to access the TEF entrepreneurship program? Very simple. First of all, you must live in any of the African countries. Any country, you must be a legal resident of any of the countries in Africa, including Nigeria. Okay? Now, secondly, your business, you must be running a business, okay? And that business must have been operating for a minimum of 3 years. Okay? So for those of us that are just starting out or just about to start out in our businesses, we may not qualify for the TEF entrepreneurship program. For those, in order to qualify, you must have been running your business for a minimum of 3 years, and it must be a profitable business idea. So you must have a what we call an MVP, a minimum viable product. So you've identified your MVP, and you can say that you have been running your business for a minimum of 3 years and that your business is indeed profitable. So in order to apply for this, you simply log on to their website as well, and you fill in the forms, and then hopefully you will get selected to go through the training, and at the end of that training and mentorship period, you get access to that fund of $5,000 US dollars to run your business. Okay, so far so good. So far so good. We're going to take a very short break, and then we'll come back, and then we'll look at the other ways or other funds, other grants that are available to us as entrepreneurs in Nigeria.
trendybeats.com. More music on trendybeats.com.
I know sometimes it be like say nobody send you. That's when I did for you, my friend.
Welcome back to the Law and Business Clinic on Aloore Radio. Once again, you can join us on our website. Check us out on our website, www.aloreradio.com. You can also look us up on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Aloore Radio. And finally, on YouTube, simply look for Aloore Radio. Right, so before the break, we were looking at some of the grant-giving organizations in Nigeria, okay? So organizations and institutions that offer grants to Nigerians and Africans to help them to grow their businesses and grow and scale their businesses in Africa and Nigeria. So if you're a business person, if you're a business owner, if you're an entrepreneur, you have a good and a viable business, then this information is for you. Of course, we know that funding has always been one of the major issues with growth of businesses in Nigeria. And so the objectives of these organizations, these DFIs, is to stimulate economic growth in Nigeria through through giving support to business owners, small businesses, and so on. Now we've looked at three DFIs and organizations that issue grants or offer grants to Nigerians, and so we'll jump in and look at a couple of other organizations and institutions before we wrap it up for today. Now, I think the third, or is that the fourth organization that we'll be looking at today is what is known as the GrowFin Fund. GrowFin Fund. So that's GROFIN, the GrowFin Fund. And the GrowFin Fund is another DFI, Development Financial Institution, that provides finances and business support to small and medium-scale enterprises. Okay. And the focus of the GrowFin Fund is in developing economies, businesses in developing economies, and of course, you all know that Nigeria or Africa as a whole is regarded as an emerging economy. Okay, now the GrowFin Fund doesn't only just give money, okay, or finances to entrepreneurs or to applicants. It also gives, aside from financial backing, what you also get from the GrowFin Fund is business support. Okay, so financial support as well as business support to help you to grow, establish, and expand your business. Okay, so the GrowFin focuses on what we refer to as SGBs, that is small and growing businesses. Okay, and a lot of these SGBs are grossly underserved by other financial institutions, by commercial banks, and what have you. And so the GrowFin Fund, the aim of the GrowFin Fund is to, or the focus of the GrowFin Fund is to supply or to provide financial and business support to small and growing businesses in order to help them to succeed. Now, of course, before you can even access these funds, once again, you must meet certain requirements. Now, if you remember, I said to you that the aim of these organizations is not simply to throw money at businesses. It's not simply to throw money at startups, because even if you are given $1 million today as a business owner, if you do not have the right structures, processes in place to make the best use of those funds, then your business would still not grow. Okay, so the GrowFin Fund, the requirements for the GrowFin Fund is that, of course, the businesses must be located in any of the countries that the fund is situated in. Okay, so if the GrowFin Fund, of course, they are situated in Nigeria. And so as a Nigerian business owner, as a Nigerian entrepreneur, you do have the privilege of accessing the Growth-in Fund. Now, the funds, there is also a bracket to the amount of funds that entrepreneurs, that business owners can apply for, and that bracket is between $100,000 to $1,500,000. So we're talking about serious money. So the minimum grant is $100,000, okay, and the maximum grant is $1,500,000. And so you must know, of course, that in order to access these grants, in order to be successful in accessing these grants, you must be able to prove that you are not going to carry the money and go and marry a new wife, for instance. You know, that money is going into your business, okay, and your business can actually accommodate those funds. Now, the third requirement for the Growth-in Fund is that the business must be owner operated. And so what that simply means is that the founders must be hands-on in the decision making and the day-to-day running of the business, okay. So before you can access the funds from the Growth-in Fund or the finances from the Growth-in Fund, you must be able to show that you are actively involved in the day-to-day running of your business, okay. And then lastly, you must be able to show that your business is profitable. Your business is profitable. Remember, I said that these guys are not interested in just throwing money at you. They want to know that the monies that they are giving to you, you are putting it to the best use, and that you have already a track record of profitability, or your company has a track record of profitability. Okay, so that is that about the Growth-in Fund. So as you can see, there are so many grants available to Nigerian business owners, Nigerian startups, Nigerian founders. There are so many. These ones are just a few. The last we'll be looking at for today would be the Shell Livewire. Now, the Shell Livewire is unfortunately only available to natives of the Niger Delta area. So you must be able to prove that you are a native of one of the Niger Delta states before you can access the Shell Livewire Fund. Okay, but it is a global entrepreneurship program, and it provides support for young entrepreneurs with innovative ideas and sustainable business ventures. So your idea must be sustainable. Your idea must be innovative. I beg your pardon. So apart from funding, one of the things that the Shell Livewire does is that it provides you with networking opportunities. So not only funding opportunities, but also networking opportunities. You know, your business is only, as they say, your business is only as successful as the people that you know, okay, or the people that you service. So one of the things that you get through the Shell Livewire, apart from funding, is networking opportunities. And like I said, it is only open to youth from the Niger Delta region, okay, who are interested in starting a business. Now, the Shell Livewire also requirements. Let's look at some of the requirements for the Shell Livewire funding. The first requirement, of course, is that you must be between the ages of 18 and 30 years old. So if you're below 18 and if you're above 30, you do not qualify for the Shell Livewire funding. Okay. Now, of course, I've already stated that you must be a member, or you must be a native of one of the Niger Delta states. So River State, Bayelsa, Cross River, and what have you. You must be a native from one of those Niger Delta states before you can qualify to access or receive the Shell Livewire funding. And then the last requirement for this funding, of course, is that your business must be profitable. If your business is not, if you cannot show that your business is profitable, if you do not have track record of profitability, then you will be unable to access the Shell Livewire funding. It must be sustainable, and your business must be sustainable, your business must be innovative, and finally your business must be scalable, which means that it must have a potential for growth. Okay, so if your business is one which it may be profitable, right, but it is not scalable, meaning that you cannot multiply that business to more than one location, then more likely than not you'll be unable to access the Shell Livewire funding. Right, so that's the final grant organization that we'll be looking at today. But like I said before, there are literally hundreds of grant giving organizations in Nigeria, and you would do yourself so much good as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, to do your own research. Do your own research and discover what grant giving organizations, exist in your locality, or which ones would apply to your own specific situation. So for instance, there are grant organizations that are tailored to only female entrepreneurs in Nigeria. Female entrepreneurs and female run businesses in Nigeria. So do your research, and I'm sure that you would find a grant organization that is tailored to meet your own specific needs as an entrepreneur. And like I said earlier, one of the things that I have noticed that stops entrepreneurs for applying for grants is that so there are several things. One of the main things is, I think, it's fear. It's the fear that they do not qualify for these grants. And a lot of times, and I've met so many entrepreneurs that have everything, they qualify, in fact above qualify for these grants, but that fear that they will not be able to access the grants keeps them down, stops them from applying. I've met so many people that after a conversation with them, they now realize that they actually have what it takes to apply for those grants. So my first advice would be to get beyond the fear. Believe that you are not the people that are doing these things, that are accessing these grants. Like I say, they don't have two heads, they have just one. So believe that your business is able to access the grants. So that's the first thing. Now, in the case that your business is unable to access the grants, or you haven't met the requirements yet, I always say that success is replicable. And what that simply means is that you can replicate success. So look for people who have succeeded in accessing these grants and replicate their processes. Look for people in your industry. So if you're in fashion, if you're in tailoring, for instance, or makeup, if you're in food production, if you're in manufacturing, whatever industry you are in, there are people that have accessed these grants. So simply find out other companies in your field that have accessed these grants and replicate what they have done to put you in the right position to access these grants. And lastly, I would say that it is very important for us as entrepreneurs to create structure in our businesses. And without these structures in place, without putting these structures and processes in place, your business would never qualify to access any of these grants. So the first thing that we need to do as entrepreneurs, as business owners, is begin to put these structures in place to allow our businesses to grow, to function, and to be profitable. This is the beginning of your grants journey, okay? There are businesses that I know that have literally accessed hundreds of thousands worth of grants. And I will end this today's cast by telling you a story, okay? So a couple of years ago, I was having a conversation with a foreign-based grant organization, with a representative rather of a foreign-based grant organization. And I know that they were looking at giving grants to certain types of businesses in Africa, or in Nigeria to be specific. Now, the sad thing that happened was that they were unable to, at that time, to find businesses that had the right structure within that niche, that had the right structure to accommodate or to absorb the types of grants that they were looking at giving to businesses. And so, unfortunately, none of the businesses that, in fact, we didn't even have businesses that could pre-qualify for those grants at that time, and the grants had to be repatriated somewhere else. And I think that was it was a huge loss for our own economy, because that money, those funds going into our economy would have done such a good, it would have been so good for so many businesses, and it would have, of course, stimulated the economy within that region. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our program for today. It's a very short one today due to reasons beyond our control, but I do hope that we've been able to gain some value. So apart from these 5 grant organizations that I have mentioned, like I said, there are hundreds more. So go out, do your homework, and find the right one for you, and know that I believe in you. Okay, thank you very much for being a part of today's show, for being a part of today's program, and I wish all of us the very, very best. Don't forget, once again, this is the Law and Business Clinic on Aloore Radio. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.
Nobody sent you, that's what I did for you, my friend.
Party no vex for me. Say I never call you since, but I hope that you are well. I hope your market sell. Every day I dey pray for you. Make you Baba God bless you. I never forget you. Now I gon' forget you. See my shoulder, make you rest upon me. You know I got you. Now me be your friend indeed. My money don't show now. I don't keep some for you. You know go so far. Cause anything I get now for me and you, yeah. How are you, my friend? How do you do, my friend? I know sometimes it be like say nobody sent you. That's when I did for you, my friend. How are you, my friend? How do you do, my friend? I know sometimes it be like say nobody sent you. That's when I did for you, my friend. Remy Atata, you always stay in my mind. Padi me gone, gone, gone. I cherish you with my life. Don't worry yourself, oh. Everything go day alright. And if anybody try you, you know it's gonna be on sight. See my shoulder, make you rest upon me. You know I got you. Now me be your friend indeed. Oh, money don't show now. I don't keep some for you. You know go so far. Cause anything I get now for me and you, yeah. How are you, my friend? See you, my brother. How do you do, my friend? See you, my sister. I know sometimes it be like say nobody sent you. That's when I did for you, my friend. Solo. How are you, my friend? How do you do, my friend? I know sometimes it be like say nobody sent you. That's when I did for you, my friend. I know sometimes it be like say nobody sent you. That's when I did for you, my friend. I know that I don't call enough, but you're always on my mind. Oh, I did for you, my